Compared to decades past, assessments are not only for giving grades to students, but also for guiding students through their learning. Teachers and students can use assessments to gauge progress in learning as a tool to identify learning areas that are in need of support and to showcase and summarize growth. It is critical that any and all assessment tools be developed from clear outcomes. In Alberta, these outcomes come from the Alberta Program of Studies, which tell teachers and students what students are required to learn. Assessments should provide teachers and students with a clear indication of learning progress and achievement. For example, this tool was used to assess kindergarten students' ability to solve problems using measurement. The Alberta Program of Studies explains to teachers and students that the measurement of shapes and objects creates spatial sense, which allows students to make predictions about the results of changing these dimensions and communicate about shapes and objects and to create their own representations. These types of assessments tell students about their learning, and they tell teachers if students have reached the required outcomes. But what if a student becomes discouraged with his or her learning, or the student appears to think that he or she just can't learn the material, or the student seems uninterested or unmotivated to learn? A kindergarten student that I've observed since September often says, "I don't know how to do that," or "I can't do it," when completing tasks or approaching new learning outcomes. Some ways that teachers can support these students' self-efficacy is by providing feedback of learning and giving opportunities for expression about learning and offering lessons that build student confidence. Feedback is a powerful tool that can aid students in understanding their own learning. When providing feedback of student learning, a teacher should remember to direct feedback towards the attainment of a goal rather than the student. The teacher should also give time to reflect on learning, promote self-regulation, and be open to discuss feedback with students. Opportunities for student expression also help to build self-efficacy. Alberta Education has a document called Building on Success that provides some worksheets such as Imagine a Great Day at School and Feeling Better, which allow students to express interests and needs to the teacher. Finally, by understanding a student's strengths, a teacher can provide differentiated lessons that highlight these strengths and slowly build a student's self-confidence in his or her own learning. New concepts can slowly be scaffolded upon these small successes. A traditional assessment tool that is used in Alberta is the Provincial Achievement Tests, or PATs. Some may view these tests as a critical assessment tool, where others may view them as an archaic method of assessment. In order to understand why these tests are used, it is important to recognize the benefits and challenges of the PATs. One of the major challenges with the PATs is ensuring that it accurately represents student learning. Issues arise when outside factors such as stress, home issues, or mental health affect a student's results. However, there are beneficial options for students that can reduce these issues. Students may end up writing their test on a computer, be given extra time, or have a scribe or audio feature to support them. Another challenge that comes with PATs is teaching for testing. Teachers and students become solely focused on being ready for a certain test design instead of focusing on learning outcomes set out by Alberta Education. Then again, the aim of PATs is to provide parents, teachers, and students with an accurate representation of learning. The PATs allow teachers to see if they have addressed the outcomes in a way that connects with the students, and students can see if they understood the curriculum that was taught to them. In the end, assessment is all about showing that learning is happening. There are many parts to assessment, but one of the most crucial elements is planning. A teacher cannot effectively assess a student's learning without a clear plan for how, when, and why to assess. An assessment design that supports this planning is the backwards design. This planning method begins with the end in mind. Lessons are created based upon a solid understanding of the learning outcomes, including the big ideas and why these outcomes are important. This beginning step should also include student-friendly outcomes so that students understand what their learning goals are. Then comes the assessment tools, which should be able to accurately measure the outcomes to be learned. And finally, the lesson itself is built upon this foundation. In connection with the other components of assessment, this design method will help me to build a best practice for assessment with my future students.
Created using Powtoon.